Fantasy football fools, we are finally back after a couple weeks off. Sorry about the break there, but we're back now for the week 8 recap.
Yep, we can.
8 seasons in the books now. Everyone's kind of shaping up to where they're at in the playoff race. How you feeling after 8 weeks here?
I mean, 500, can't be too mad, can't be too happy. A lot of teams are actually 500, I think. So it's gonna be a pretty crazy next couple weeks.
Yeah, a lot of good matchups coming up for those teams that are still in the hunt. So I guess without further ado, we'll get straight into last week's game for you. Coming into this 4-4, both with Chewy 4-4 after starting the season a little bit rough. How'd you feel after this game?
Yeah, not great. I knew the 1 o'clock games. I needed a big spot for my QB, so I went with a risky choice in Malik Willis, which did not pay off. But even if I had Jimmy Garoppolo, I still would have lost. So I really wasn't too mad. Chewy these guys just got touchdowns. CD got a touchdown, Murray got a touchdown, Tyler got a touchdown. So all his big guys got a touchdown, and really my guys really didn't, except for Stephon Diggs, who played that Saturday night. Ramondre Stevenson still had a good game, but didn't get a touchdown. Mixon sucks. He's not good. Chris Olave did all right. Pat did all right. Just no touchdowns, though, on my end. And Chewy did get the touchdown, so that was really kind of the I don't say the reason he won, but a big reason why he won. And it's a good win for Chewy. He had Eckler on the bench, or not on the bench, but on a bye. I had Justin Herbert on a bye. So no, it's just a really good win for Chewy. You're going to have some of those weeks in fantasy football where it's just like some of your decisions just don't work out, and that kind of happened to me. I still like my team going forward. I think I still have a strong core, especially with Herbert back, and hopefully he's a little bit more healthy coming off the bye. So I'm not I'm not sitting too bad at 4-4. I played Nick this week, who is a game ahead of me. So that's going to be a good game. It's a big game for both of us, and we'll just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, like you said, 4-4, sitting at 500. That's not the worst place to be, especially right now with a lot of other teams in the league at 500. You could definitely be doing worse, as we'll see as we're getting into a few more teams down the line here. But like you said, good win for Chewy here, 117, solid score. That's a pretty good week. Hopefully he can keep that momentum rolling.
Yeah, Chewy had some good matchups with Tua against Detroit, CD against the Bears. Just some good matchups that he got. The Tua matchup was really big. I think the first quarter they both teams scored 14 points each. So I knew that game was going to be a struggle. Just to kind of just wanted to get it over with as quick as possible. But yeah, good win for Chewy. We'll see who he plays next week, and hopefully he can continue this hot streak. Because yeah, like you said, he was doing pretty bad in the beginning of the year, and now he's kind of picked it up with the couple trades that he's done. That CD trade was really good so far with the James Robinson, because James Robinson kind of sucks now. So he sold high on him. So that was a pretty good trade for Chewy. So we'll see how he does. But we'll go into James and Rudy. And I guess I got to ask you, true or false, after this loss, is James out of the playoffs?
Well, I would say he's getting close. Definitely getting close. I don't know. 3-5, I think you're still on the cusp. I think 6 losses right now is definitely out of the playoffs. Which we'll see. That's where I'm at now, and me and Jimmy are both under that line, so I think we're out. But I don't know. I think James still maybe has a little bit of a chance. Although, I mean, if he keeps dropping 70s and 80s, I don't think it's going to matter. Sam Ehlinger here as his quarterback, and I don't think he has really a lot of better options on his bench. His quarterback position, Derek Carr, who got a 1.9. I mean, his quarterback position is shot. He's got a pretty decent team. He's made a lot of moves, a lot of desperation trades, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. Rashad Bateman is now out for the season. He gets him a goose egg this week. Harrison Bryant, goose egg this week. I mean, this team is all out of sorts. It's not looking great. I think he has to win out from here, which I just don't see happening. So in that regard, to answer your question, I do think he's out, but I think if he were to win out, I think he could sneak in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's not out of the playoffs per se, but I think with this team, no offense to the team, it's not good. Jamar Chase really killed him. If he still had Jamar Chase, he wouldn't have done the Nick Chubb trade, of course. But you can't blame him with that Nick Chubb trade because he just needs to rack up wins. And with Jamar Chase out for 4 weeks, you got to make something. So good job for Jeff kind of pouncing on that situation. And yeah, I just don't see James's team doing much better. But on the flip side, Rudy's team is still one of the best teams in the league. I have him in my power rankings the last 2 times I've done power rankings at the top. It's just a really good team. Mark Andrews with a dud. I'm not really a dud, but even he left before halftime, I believe. And his flex is bad. But he still comes up with 117 points. Jalen Waddle, again, we talked about that Lions matchup, which is a perfect matchup for those receiving cores and that quarterback. Kenneth Walker is looking great as the lone back in Seattle. Jalen Hurts, early MVP next to Josh Allen. This is just a great team. There's holes in it, but the players are the good players are just making sure that those holes don't really matter when it comes to wins and losses. Even with Travis Kelce on a bye, he gets this win. I don't know. Rudy's team is looking good. I don't know if I'm afraid of this team per se. If I saw him in the first round of the playoffs, I don't think I'd be mad. There's a couple teams that I really wouldn't want to see in the playoffs. Rudy's team is still so borderline, but you can't argue that this team isn't good. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think anyone would say that this team isn't good right now.
But I mean, if you look at it, it's not like Darnell Mooney as your wide receiver 2, Darrell Henderson as your flex. I know Travis Kelce's on a bye, but if you just like from the naked eye, this team, and Jonathan Taylor has done shit all year. From the naked eye, this team really isn't that great, but it's good. I don't know.
He's got at least 6 guys on this team that any given week could drop a 25 to 30 ball, right, and he gets at least one of them to do it every single week. So when you have guys like that and you can be fairly consistent, I mean, it's not hard to get those 117s. I think this is, and the crazy thing is, like you said, Jonathan Taylor sucked. If he even picks it up remotely, this team's even scarier. But I did see, I don't think Jonathan Taylor practiced at all this week yet so far. So we'll have to see what's going to go on with him if he's going to play this week. He's projected ZR right now. I did swoop in and grab Deion Jackson off the waiver wire, so maybe I'll have a nice running back on my hunt to end some playoff hopes. But yeah, that was a good week by Rudy, and he's just still rolling. He's still rolling.
He is still rolling, and a guy who's actually pumped the brakes big time is Jonathan Peppers. This guy was 5-0, last 3 games, 0-3. The last 2 weeks have been terrible with buys, and I even said that in my power rankings 2 weeks ago. He has to at least go 1-1. Not that he's out of the playoffs or anything, but just to feel good about making the playoffs. Go to 1-1 these past 2 weeks, and James beat him, and Lubasi beats him, with a 90. This guy barely put up 70. His team just isn't looking that strong. Debo has been kind of Debo hasn't got a game under 10 except for last week, and he was hurt this past week. But he's kind of felt like a bust to me. I don't know if you can if you would agree with that, but he just hasn't done that much to be merited a 18th overall pick. So I don't know if you agree with that or not.
No, I don't. I mean, I definitely don't think he's putting up the numbers where you draft him at. I mean, he's only put up over 20 once, and that was barely. And then all of his other double digits are low 12 or low, between 12 and 10. I mean, draft a guy in the second round, you got to hope for 15 plus most weeks, week in, week out, plus those 20, 25, 30s here and there too. He's not getting those out of Debo, but I think Debo's usage has just been so different this year than what we saw last year. And that's kind of where he was coming in with the draft stock, having all that rushing upside. But he hasn't really been running the ball as much this year. And now they got Christian McCaffrey, so he's probably going to be running the ball even less. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough pick. He's still a solid player. Obviously, he's going to get you better than George Pickens, who drops him a goose egg. But I still think he's a good player. But, yeah, I do think from his actual draft position, he would technically, I think, be considered a bust.
Yeah, and you put Patrick Mahomes in there. Andy Dalton actually did a serviceable job as the quarterback. But Dalvin Cook really hasn't had that great of a year either. I think I was reading a couple articles about him this week. I mean, he's the 11th ranked running back, but he's been so inconsistent. You see 2 double digits, kind of low 10s. He's kind of picked it up the last 3 games that he's had. Hopefully he can continue that, but Dalvin has been not as dominant as we are used to seeing. But like I just said, the last 3 games has been okay. So Johnny has some worries if I was him here. 5-3. I don't know who he plays this week, but he's searching for a win. 3-game losing streak is not that good, even not that great to be in. Even if you started 5-0, you got to get a win this week. If you are Johnny,
gotta get a win.
Yeah, and hopefully he does. I don't know who he plays, so I don't know if I want him to win or not. But in his perspective, he needs to win. So I guess we'll go to Lubasi's team, who had another subpar week, and he gets the win. I think he's 6-2 right now. And you got to be liking your chances if you were Lubasi. But come playoffs time, I think this is the team I'd want to play.
Yeah, I think everybody would be foaming at the mouth if they drew this team in the first round. I mean, not even to keep digging into me and Lubasi, always talk shit, but this is really probably one of the weaker 6-2 teams that you'll see, right? I mean, Najee Harris has just been dog water this year. So bad. Cortland Sutton, bad. The Broncos, anyone on the Broncos offense has just been bad. Pittman has been so mediocre. I mean, I know he got him in the trade, so he hasn't had him that long, but he just hasn't been, I feel like, doing that much. Definitely, yeah, just look at all those single digits. He had, 2-3 good games. Week 1 was his best one. But, yeah, he's just been so average. And Gabe Davis, I think, is another guy that's been pretty inconsistent. He's had a couple huge weeks, and then the rest has just been kind of duds. So, I mean, I'm looking at this team, and I don't think it's a very scary team. I don't know what you think there. That could be my biased opinion. But I don't know. I'm not scared of this team. Not that it matters for me, but
right. Like I said, if you're looking for a first round matchup and you're the top 4 teams, this is the team you want to play. I don't see Najee's uptick. I don't think he's going to break out anytime soon. The Pittsburgh offense is just bad. Travis Etienne is, this is his bright spot on the team. And so is Burrow, but Burrow had a really bad game last week. But really it's Travis Etienne, and even the Cowboys D has kind of surprised most people. I'm sure he got them on the waivers. Let's just check really quick. Oh, no, he drafted him in the 12th round, so that was actually a good pick by Lubasi, best defense in the league. But, yeah, Travis in the defense is your bright spots. And, I don't know if Travis is going to be doing – I mean, he did that against Denver. I don't know. I think Travis is good for double digits every week, but you just got to have something else from your other team. Your wide receivers are bad, barely puts up 10 combined. And like I said with Najee, I don't see him breaking out. I think that Steelers offense is just bad. So, but you can't be mad if you're Lubasi 6-2. Like he's always said in the group chat that, if you're in the playoffs, anything can happen, which is very true.
6-2 is 6-2 at the end of the day. But we'll see if he can maybe turn that team side around and actually get some big points coming out of there.
Yeah, so we'll go to probably the highest scoring game of the week. Definitely the highest scoring in the game, and it wasn't even close. Chris loses to Jeff on the top point getter for the year by 0.1 points. So Chris has had some bad beats. He lost to me by less than a catch, 0.5, and then he lost to Jeff with the $50 by 0.1. And that's really because he got a goose egg from his defense. He just needed 1 point from his defense and he couldn't get it. But we'll talk about let's talk about your team first. You can kind of delve in to how good of you did a very good week and you still lost, and kind of how that feels and your playoff chances kind of dwindling here.
They're not dwindling. They're gone. And this is the second time that I've put up over 110 this year and lost. So, I mean, it's an all too familiar feeling. My team we hit a big roadblock weeks 4 through 6. I mean, I just had bye weeks and injuries, and DeAndre Swift's a fucking bitch, just never plays. And then when he does play, Jamal Williams still out touches him and outscores him. And it's I don't even know what. Maybe the worst first round draft pick of all time. It was really great in week 1. I was riding a big high, but and then Lamar Jackson just decided for 3 or 4 weeks that he was a fucking high school football quarterback and playing with the big boys, just couldn't handle it. I got Devontae Adams out here having like one catch games. Like, I mean, the guys just, I had the talent, but the guys just didn't show up to play, and I just a lot of injury problems. T. Higgins fucking leaving games early and shit too, and it's a sad end to the season, but it is what it is. Chris really fucking put it in my pooper this week. I can't even be mad about it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be mad at someone dropping a 180. You just kind of have to be like hoping that's the week you drop like a 60, just so you can have your really bad week against the best week of the year. Well, second best week of the year, of course, now. But yeah, I mean, this DeAndre Hopkins pick probably will save Chris. I mean, he's 4-4. He's close to the playoffs. If he gets in the playoffs, this is one of the teams I do not want to see. I do not want to see Chris's team first round or even in the championship. This team is really good. Justin Fields has actually done really well. I don't know if he can sustain this hot streak. I know the Bears have a couple tough games coming up with a couple tough defenses. Actually, not really that bad. Just Miami and Jets.
Miami just gave up like 40 points to Jared Goff. So
right. Well, yeah, but then they also got a Chubb back or in a trade. But we'll see. But yeah, Fields is he's kind of turning a corner. McCaffrey's actually seen the bulk of the carries and play time the second week as a 49er, which you kind of would think that the first week he would get less touches just because it's a new offense and stuff. But yeah, Tyreek Hill, great. I mean, this team is just good. I don't know what else to say except that it's just really good, especially this week. Let's see.
Dude, I tend to recall, and maybe I'll have to go back to another podcast, but I tend to recall putting the alert out on this team, dude. I said, like, if he figures those wide receivers out and those running backs start to heat up, like, this is game over for everybody else because this team is fucking good. Like, the first 5 weeks, Justin Fields was holding them back for sure, like dropping a horrible thing. But like you said, he's turning a corner now. He's having great games. So that was a great pickup for Chris. It didn't help him those first few weeks, but it's helping him now. And this is a fucking good team, man.
Yeah, it really is. So we'll see. Kyle Pitts, really probably his best game of the year. Let's see if he can sustain something just similar to that. He's been dudding out a really big bust in the tight end position. Chris, I think Chris just needs to worry about his secondary positions. I mean, his running backs and wide receivers are really good. It's really just about that quarterback being more consistent, that tight end just not sucking, and then his defense and getting, and his kicker getting figured out. And this team is really good. But you really just want your core to be really good, running back and wide receivers, and you just kind of hope the rest kind of figures itself out. But if you have that really good core, it's just a really tough team.
Yeah, that's not a team you want to run into. He absolutely crushed my soul, and sent me packing for the year. So we'll the Old Town Toads will be back next year, and we'll try and do it again. But congrats to Chris on that ridiculous win.
All right, and we'll go to someone who had to win this week. This guy's got 7 losses. I think it's safe to say that Jimmy has a 0.0000001 chance of making the playoffs. There's still, he's not really out like completely, but it's just really like the most unlikely scenario. A lot of people have to start losing. And this team just kind of dudded. His trades that he needed to work out just did not, which I thought was interesting because, he wanted Trevor, he wanted Christian Kirk, and they played the best defense, or one of the best defense. The only bright spot of the Denver Broncos is its defense. And that was just a very big bet that I thought was really risky, but it could have panned out. And even if it did pan out, Nick just, had a really good score of almost 140. But unfortunately, Jimmy's had some tough luck this year. He's got not a great team, but it didn't look bad. Like he was losing with like 110s, 120s, kind of like you were or you are. He ran into Jeff with a 188 or 180.8. He ran into some tough scores. I don't think this is the worst team in the league, but he has the worst record, and that's really kind of all that matters. And I think you're done, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is a tough way to go out to on a 68. Especially after all the moves, you're hoping for big things, and it doesn't pan out. So a tough loss here for Jimmy. I'll see you in the consolation bracket. I actually texted him that on Sunday after I was getting my ass ran I was like, I'll see you in the consolation bracket because I think it's pretty safe to say that me and him are pretty much out of this. But another good week for Nick. As much as I hate to say it, I mean Alvin Kamara and AJ Brown both with almost 40 balls apiece. Like
They
Josh
beat
Allen
Jimmy
only
just
got a
together.
7. Yeah, Josh Allen only got a 17, and he still put up almost 140. I mean, his team's been looking pretty good all year, and it's only seeming to look a little bit better. Alvin Kamara is starting to really heat up. Um, he was looking a little shaky at the beginning of the year, but he's definitely started to turn things around. And AJ Brown has scored another touchdown tonight, which we saw right before we started the pod. So yeah, I mean this team's pretty good, and you're right up against them this week.
Yeah, and we'll see how it goes. Big week for both of us. I think he's really top heavy. I think if AJ Brown and Kamara doesn't do as well as they do, and Josh Allen, but being top heavy isn't as bad at some weeks because it just literally carries you here. He would have beat everybody except one person this week, so you can't be too mad. You can't say too much negative about Nick's team right now. So, actually, Dom actually beat him. But
well, one thing you can say negative about him is that he offers the most dog shit trades of all time. I've now heard it from at least like 4 or 5 different people in the league and myself that Nick is the absolute worst trade bundle combiner of all time. I know most of them are probably jokes just to see if someone would actually say yes, but you're not going to get anybody like that in this league, and that shit sucks.
Yeah, so the one team that he actually would have, or 2 teams he would have lost to, but another team was Dom's team, 145. We had a lot of high scores this week, so if you came out with a dub with a low score like Lubasi, consider yourself lucky because
that dude least points in the league by a long shot.
Yeah, so I mean, right. So, but yeah, Dom's team, really good week. Derrick Henry's been turning it around, especially without Ryan Tannehill. You knew that their running game was going to be pretty much 90%. In my regards, I was hoping Malik would run a little bit more, but I mean, if you have Derrick Henry, I guess all you have to do is hand it off to that guy because he will run through people and to touchdown. So, really good week for Derrick Henry. Kyler Murray, another week. It was a quiet 24. I don't know. I feel like I give Kyler, I don't know if I've really given him too much this podcast, but a lot of slack. He's done, I mean, an average quarterback, not even like above average, top 6. You drafted him at the 7th round. I mean, your value isn't that bad, but I don't know. I just feel like Kyler should be doing more. I think he should be doing more in regards to fantasy points and just with the Cardinals in general, because I think the Cardinals have a really good team, but they just aren't really getting the dubs that they should be getting. So
yeah, that offense is weird sometimes.
Yeah,
it looks a little bit better now that DeAndre is back, though. It does.
Right.
I will say that.
It does. And you can kind of tell the first week, you kind of give people a pass just because it's their first game. But now this is the second game with D-Hop, and like we saw in Chris's team, I think Hopkins got like a 24 or 25, something like that. But yeah, just consistent double digits from Dom's team gets them a 145. Broncos D and Curtis Samuel is the only one who didn't get double digits, but you get a 35 from Derrick Henry. Kind of alleviates those single digits to kind of get more double digits, I guess, if that makes sense. So 145 is a really good week for Dom. I think he sits at 3-5. Another team that I've been an advocate on Dom's team pretty much all year, especially through the power rankings. This is another team I really don't want to see in the playoffs if I was in the playoffs. It's a really good team that has underperformed this year, and I think if he can sniff the playoffs, I think he has a shot.
Yeah, I mean, his team has started to look a lot better. It was looking it was in pretty rough shape at the beginning of the season, but he has been doing much better, turning things around. He's still definitely got a shot at the playoffs here at 3-5, so hopefully he can keep that up. And then on the other side of things, a team that might be slipping a little bit. I know we've been talking about the inconsistency of this team because Jeff's team will drop like 180 and then a 90 and then a 70. And like this, I mean, you just never know what you're going to get out of Jeff's team. He's made a couple trades, though. It looks a little bit different now. He's got Nick Chubb, pretty good. I mean, on paper, this team looks pretty solid. Brandon Cooks may not see the field again this year, so I don't know what he's going to do about that wide receiver 2 spot. Maybe start Garrett Wilson. So that might look a little bit different too. And yeah, I don't know. Jeff's team, I think it definitely has some potential. But just the inconsistency. I don't know. That's the last thing you want to be coming into the playoffs is inconsistent.
Yeah, because you can really just get like a 130 or like a 120 and then drop a 70 when you really need your team to get going. But Josh Jacobs really pretty much dudded this week. I really wonder how he's going to do the rest of the year. He's been really great, but that's just one of the guys that everyone thought was more so a bust coming into the season. I know I did. I wasn't touching Josh Jacobs, and he's done really well. At least the last 4 weeks, kind of turned it on. Really inconsistent.
Really only 3.
Well, 35, 27. Yeah, 12's all right. Yeah, an average. So, like, yeah, really good 3 weeks. Average week 3, rest single digits. As good as he has been, he's been inconsistent just because of the beginning of the year he had. So it's going to be interesting to see how Josh Jacobs kind of finishes the year. Nick Chubb trade, I think Jeff wins it. He's the number 1 back in the league, I'm pretty sure. I think we check this every single week, and it never changes.
Yeah.
But like you said, Brandon Cooks done for the year. I think this team. I think I'm gonna be bold here. I think if you look at Jeff's week 1 scoreboard, which let's do this in a little bit when I ask you this question, what team is better? This team right here that you're looking at, or his week 1 no trade team? And I'm going to show you that team right now. I know hindsight's 2020, but I think this team right here. Let's see.
No, I think the one he has now is better.
You think so?
So better, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think Michael Pittman has done too much.
No,
I think
Michael Pittman, I was just talking about how average Michael Pittman's been this year, and now he's got Nick Chubb. Yeah, I think his team now is probably a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like for some reason I was thinking his wide receivers were a little bit better than this. I think he did really well with this Michael Pittman trade. I know I didn't really like it at first, but he did really well getting Miles Sanders, and then Miles Sanders turned into Nick Chubb. So, yeah, I think I was kind of thinking that his wide receivers were a little better. But, yeah, I don't know. But Jeff's made some – I don't want to say questionable trades. His team, like you said, just is inconsistent. I don't know if I'm afraid of this team or not.
No, it doesn't give you the scare factor. And you know what I think one of the biggest things about it is? I think it's because Justin Jefferson has just not been a round 1 wide receiver. I mean, he's had some great weeks, don't get me wrong, but 5th best. And look at that. He had 2 single digits. We got a 13 and a 12. We had 3 Justin Jefferson type weeks and we're in week 8 right now.
So when you say that, when you think of a first round wide receiver, you look at Justin Jefferson. He's the 5th wide receiver in the league right now, but that's really kind of telling a different story because he's been really inconsistent per se with the 2, with the 7. Yeah, he got a 35. Yeah, he got a 26, but 24, 13, 12.
And that's the only reason he's number 5 is because he got that 34.
Really, right. So then if you look at, let's say, Stephon Diggs, just because I know he's been really consistent. He's the number 1 wide receiver, I know. But, all double digits except 1 bad week. He has that 38 ball that he puts on you, but he still has got the 10, the 22, the 20, the 25. Like, this is what you look for in like a first round wide receiver. Consistency and those big games. Yeah, you're going to get a dud here once in a while, but you kind of expect that from anybody, really.
Yeah, I would much rather see these numbers flopped from the draft positions that these 2 guys were drafted at between Diggs and Jefferson.
Right.
Because this is what you would expect out of your first round wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. And I think that might be part of the reason why Jeff's team just doesn't have that like big scare factor, is because his best player on his team is not performing like he should be, or at least hasn't been consistently doing so. But we'll see how Jeff's team does going forward. I do think his team looks a little bit better now than it did. And it does, on paper, like I said, it does look pretty good, just inconsistent so far.
Yeah, so we'll go into standings. I don't know if we have a time limit here, Rye.
I think we have like 6 or 7 minutes left.
All right, so yeah, we can kind of go through the standings here. You can see Rudy's team is now the number 1 team. Chris's team really catapulted to that third spot just because of that 180, and then Nick's is 87. We see Dom's really, really behind him. Johnny's kind of fell off. I know he was top 4 for a little bit, but when you throw a 70 out there, you're going to kind of get down in these ranks. So right now, the top point getters in this playoff is Rudy versus Nick, and then Jeff versus Chris. If the season ended today. You can see the best record in the league right now, or tied with, is Lubasi, and he is, I think, 7th here, 8th.
Yeah, 8th.
With 791. Not bad, but definitely not a 6-2 team, and you can see why he's a 6-2 team because of that.
By a mile, dude. Look at that. Crazy. And you got me and poor Jimmy up there at the top, just getting smoked by everybody.
Yeah, and you can see Jeff's even had some tough opponents, and he's doing all right. I've had some tough opponents, and I'm still 4-4. It'd be interesting to see if, let's say, if I had Lubasi's schedule, if I'd be 7-1, 6-2, something like that. I actually kind of want to I'll probably check that after the podcast, but. Yeah, look at Jimmy. I mean, just look at Jimmy's right now. 1,000 points already, and then you're second with 907, almost 100-point difference. It's been tough for Jimmy, that's for sure.
Yeah, Jimmy's been getting pooped on too. I mean, he's almost 300 points ahead of Lubasi. I'm almost 200 points ahead of Lubasi. The difference between the top and the bottom here is just so wide. That gap, that margin is so nuts. Sometimes the luck is the cards just don't fall in your favor. It sucks, but that's fantasy for you.
Yeah, and just saying this is the projected playoff matchups right now. You can see Lubasi's kind of the odd team right here, just with how we were looking at with the points. But
that'd be a heck of a game though. Lubasi versus Jeff. We got Jeff's inconsistency versus Lubasi's kind of mediocre point scoring. That would be an interesting matchup.
It would be. So, yeah, and then we got the consolation, Chris, Johnny, all that good stuff. So, I don't know. We got a big week ahead. You don't want to be – if you're a 500 team, which a lot of people are, you kind of want this win. You need this win just to kind of feel that confidence back. So, you got Chewy's 4-4, and then you got me, Chris, and – just me and Chris, 4-4. You don't want to fall 4-5 just because it just kind of looks a little worse than 5-4, right? So – the 5-3 teams need a dub, and the 6-2 teams can kind of take it or leave it. But of course, you want more wins than losses. But the must-win games, I think, are James and Dom, whoever they play. I think these two guys are must-wins. I think if they lose, it's going to be a lot tougher, of course, to get back in those playoffs, in the playoff picture.
Yeah, as you can see, my 6 losses, I have a 2% chance to make it.
Yeah, and you can see Jimmy actually has a 0% chance. So, Jimmy, I think you are officially out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to say that 2% chance is also pretty much out of the playoff. James probably out of the playoffs with 3% too. I think any of us. Dom's got the best shot to make it out of us bottom of the barrel teams. But so we might be rooting for Team Dom. That's the underdog for us. So we'll hope that he makes an upset and climbs up the ranks here.
Yes, I think that does it for the podcast. I think if we might want to look for, I don't know if I'll do a power rankings next week because it's beginning of the month and my job's pretty busy for the beginning of the month. So I think we'll probably do the next power rankings in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds good. Hopefully some of us will get to move up in those a little bit, but probably not. I guess I'm on my I'm on my revenge tour now. I'm just going to try and end people's playoff hopes. So
there you go.
Hope to see you. It'll be great. All right, well, I think that does it for a Week 8 recap. You have any closing thoughts here?
Yeah, and just to look at, I think we're in the fourth quarter of the Eagles game. So it's me versus Nick, Chewy versus Rudy, you versus James, who's actually done pretty well with 2 people playing, Dom versus Johnny, and then Lubasi and Jeff, and then Chris versus Jimmy.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for Week 8. We'll catch you guys again in Week 9. And good luck to everybody this week. It looks like James is going to drop his highest score of the season against me. So that sounds awesome. Can't wait for that. And we will catch you guys next week.
Peace.